Hey, it's Coach Taylor, and today I want to tell you a very quick story about one of the most skilled players that I ever had the chance to play with. And the reason I want to tell you this is because his career ended in a way that will absolutely shock you once you hear a little bit more about this player. This is a true story, so I'm not going to use his real name. We'll call him Daniel for now. Again, that's not his real name. Daniel was I would say all the way growing up, pretty much every year that we played together, he was in the top 2 or 3 most skilled players on our team. He routinely, one summer we shot like 500 to 1,000 shots a day. He routinely would hit 80% or better in training. Which very few players can do. He had by far the best handles on our team, and by far I mean like he could do anything with the basketball. He was the quickest and shiftiest player on our team. He wasn't the fastest or most explosive, but he was so hard to stay in front of, and when you combine that with his handles, it was just very hard to guard. And not only that, but his basketball IQ was so high, on at least on an X's and O's level, that he later got a job as a coach at a university in his mid-20s, okay? So just overall on paper, this guy should have been playing college and potentially even professional basketball. What I haven't said about Daniel yet is that every year on our team, he was on the end of the bench. He was like 10th, 11th, sometimes even 12th man on the bench. He rarely got into games unless it was a blowout. He quit in his final year of high school. He just straight up quit the team because he was so sick of being on the end of the bench and not seeing all of his hard work pay off. This was a guy who trained for 2 to 3 hours per day every summer. And finally, he ended his career never feeling what it's like to play at a truly elite level. And for all of the years and the hours per day that he was putting into the game, that's heartbreaking. Okay, that is absolutely heartbreaking, and it's something that I want to avoid or help you avoid at all costs. So the reason that this happened to Daniel and the reason that he ended his career seeing his dream fade away is because, simply put, he was trying too hard. Okay? He got out on the floor and he wanted to play well so badly that he got into his head to the point where he was like, every time he got on the floor, it was such a rare occurrence that he would be constantly looking over at our coach to see if our coach was going to pull him out. And this was all like, it wasn't all game long because he was only on the court at the end during blowouts, but when he was on the floor, he was just going like this all the time, staring at our coach. And I felt bad because he wanted it so badly and he deserved it, but it just didn't happen for him. And all week, you know that we've been talking about what I call the deep game of basketball. It's the part of basketball that is played with the mind. And there are 8 laws to the deep game of basketball. Yesterday, we covered law number 1, which is the law of presence, which states that performance increases as thought decreases. Law number 2 is called the law of reverse effort. And this is the law that I so wish Daniel had when he was playing. The law of reverse effort states that the harder you try to play well, the more difficult the game becomes. And the analogy, this actually is all over the place in every area of life, okay? So it's not just in basketball. The law of reverse effort applies to, for example, when you're trying to go to sleep and you're trying so hard to fall asleep that you're thinking yourself into a frenzy and you just toss and turn all night and can't sleep. Another example is if you're trying to remember a word that's on the tip of your tongue and you're trying and trying and trying to remember this word, and the harder you try to remember it, the further away and the more blank your mind gets. And it's only, of course, when you just relax your mind and let yourself drift off to sleep that you actually get to sleep. Or when you do something else, like you just forget about remembering the word and you go take a shower, that it finally pops into your mind. And basketball is the same way. To play this game to the best of your ability, you have to let go of trying so hard to play well and allow yourself to just play. And make no mistake, that is a difficult thing to do, but when you get it right, it's one of our players had this great quote when he finally mastered this, using several of the techniques that I'll be teaching on Wednesday's masterclass. He said that it was like, or rather, I want to get this right for you. He said, I started making moves that I'd never even practiced before. it was like my natural basketball ability just popped out. And this is a player who went from 3 assists per game to 13 assists per game. He's now playing college basketball and is radically undersized. I think he's listed at 5'9" or 5'10". So this stuff works. And the way to get, the analogy I want to offer you really quickly before we get into the techniques is, it's kind of like if you're trying to palm a basketball, right? You can't palm a basketball by squeezing it as hard as you can, because if you squeeze it too hard, it'll slip out of your fingers. You also can't palm it super relaxed, right? You can't just have your hand all limp, because again, it'll just fall out of your hands. You have to get it just right. And we call this playing hard effortlessly. And make no mistake, that takes work, that takes effort, and it takes technique. And in Wednesday's masterclass, again, the DeepGame masterclass is this coming Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can go to deepgame.com to register for it. It's 100% free. I'm going to be teaching a technique that can actually release that impulse to try so hard when you're out on the court, and allow you to sink into a flow state, to sink into the zone where you're playing with this relaxed aggression when you're out there on the floor, allowing the natural talent inside of you to come to the surface, allowing your natural creativity and spontaneity to come to the surface when you're out there on the floor. And like that player said, it's very common that you start making moves and taking actions on the floor that you've never even practiced before. It just comes out of you spontaneously. And really, this is what artistry is about in the game of basketball. So if you can master this, this law of the deep game, the law of reverse effort, which I'll help you do this coming Wednesday, the game just becomes so much easier. It becomes a thing of beauty, really, when a player really has mastered this. Okay, so I would love to teach this to you. Again, it'll be taught this coming Wednesday at 8 p.m. Wednesday, June 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can go to deepgame.com or click the link around this video somewhere, and you'll be able to register 100% free of charge. So again, if you want to play high-level basketball, the Deep Game is not optional, it's mandatory, and I cannot wait to share this with you this coming Wednesday.